Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul Weymouth and this is my first weekly wrap-up of 2020. I'm going to talk about a few things I read right before the new year as well, and the things that I've read and in the last week. So on today's program we have Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgernstern, The Way of Shadows by Brent, The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow, and then some stories I'm going to talk about. Your Future is Pending by Matthew Kressel, Operation Spring Dawn by Xiong, Annotated Setlist of the Mikaela Cold Jazz Quintet by Catherine George, Symbiosis Theory by Choyeop Kim, and Phantoms of the Midway by Seanan McGuire. And then at the end, I'll have a personal update of me, basically. So let's get to it and let's talk about some books and some stories. So the first thing I want to talk about is Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear. Now, Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear is kind of a salvaging story with a lot of history of the old universe and them finding technology and ships of a lost civilization, basically. It reminded me a lot of Revenger by Alistair Reynolds in that regards. So in this, there is a core group of individuals, Hammy, Connla, and Singer. Singer is the AI of their ship and a fantastic character. Hammy is the engineer and Connla is the pilot. And they're going around looking for things to salvage, things to find, so that they can go and sell those things. So they come across this really large ship and they go in to salvage it, and they find that everyone that was in the ship has died, and Hammy gets this weird nanobot type thing on her person and is now connected to her. She can now use those nanobot type technology things to instruct the waves in the universe to carry her through the light speed corridors and kind of like push the ship and things of that nature. Now this is technology that is extremely useful, and pirates want this back and other people want this back, and a pirate named Zanya Fairweather is after them now because they basically took what they wanted from this ship. And now that they have these like nanobots, this symbiosis type relationship with this thing that she has on her arm, it is telling them to go someplace. And they go and they find this really large derelict ship from eons ago, from a civilization that is not around anymore. And so they go there and they they go and try to salvage, they try to look for information, but Fairweather, the pirate, ends up on the ship with Hammy. And at that point the story turns into two individuals that really dislike each other but are attracted to each other, that are stranded on this ship floating through space. And quite a bit of this story is about how they deal with each other, how they deal with their past, and how they deal with how they see themselves and their identity. This book is very philosophical at times, talking about our past and how it creates our self-worth, our self-image, and if the way we interpret the past is incorrect, are we then misinterpreting our identity? And that type of stuff on here was fantastic. My issue with this book was that it seemed like the story would just change directions randomly many times throughout the entire book, and it just didn't seem like there was much of a series of events, but more of, okay, then this happened, okay, then that happened, okay, and then these people showed up and then they did this. It really didn't feel like our main characters, Hammy, Connla, and Singer, it didn't really feel like they really had much choice. They were just kind of in the story to be in the story. And also the part where Hamie and Zanya Fairweather are stuck on this huge ship together, and they're kind of hunting each other. And once they find each other, they have each other held hostage or a prisoner. It just went on too long. I did enjoy it though, but I don't know if Elizabeth Bear is really for me. There are some of her short stories that I really enjoy, but so far her novels haven't been spectacular for me. And it's mostly, to be honest, just the writing. It just doesn't seem very specific. Like, it doesn't seem like she really knows where she's going with things. But I might be wrong with that. But anyways, it was good, but it wasn't as great as I thought it would be. Next up is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgernstern. This is a fantasy, kind of a portal story, and it is all about these doors where you can go to. It's hard not to get this one confused with the 10,000 Doors of January. Okay. There are definitely doors that you can go to different places under the world where, like, fairy tales and stories come from, I guess would be the way to call it. It's hard to explain that. It's been a few weeks now. So basically, it follows an individual named Zachary Ezra Rollins. And he finds this book. And in this book, he finds himself. There is a story about him and a door where when he was a kid, that he didn't go through. So he figures out that all the stories in this book are actual real stories about real people. And so he goes to this masquerade type thing and finds this special society that actually is trying to get rid of all these doors and get rid of the doorknobs and hang the doorknobs as symbols of trophies. And he goes into the Starless Sea, which is basically fairy tale world, kind of like an Alice in Wonderland type world. And he's finding that all the people that he read about in the book are real. There's Dorian. Dorian is a young man that is with Zachary, and they have a connection with each other. And then there is Maribel, who is an individual that helps Zachary in this world. And then there's some bad people as well, trying to go after them. So there's a lot of parallel and different timeline stories within this story, and it all connects together. So it really reads like mini short stories layered on top of each other, and they all connect in various ways. The issue is when the reader finds these connections and realizes, oh, this character is actually that character, and they're meeting this character, and oh wow, those moments don't hit as hard as what it should. Like, if it was a different writer, those moments would be like bang, you'd be like, whoa, and there would be so many of those moments in this book that it would just blow you away. But the reveals throughout the whole book is just kind of like, oh, by the way, this person is this person. Oh, by the way, they're going here, meeting that person. Okay. So it just wasn't serious enough. Like, it wasn't like hard hitting enough for me. I still enjoyed it. I thought the writing was fantastic, and I still gave it like a 4-star. But it could have been a 5-star read if she just sort of hit those moments really hard, and it would have had these like amazing emotional impact. But she just kind of missed those moments. Okay, The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. I finally read a Brent Weeks book. I've had this book for years and years and years. Okay, so trying to read my TBR. Absolutely loved this book. I love assassins. I love assassins killing people. This is a super dark, brutal, ridiculously horrible world, and really bad things happen to people in this book. So trigger warnings for every trigger ever in this book. But it's assassins, and assassins, I love assassins. Okay, so there is this young boy. His name is Azoth, and he is a wretch on the street. He's in this like little street urchin type thief group, and he wants to get out, but he wants to protect his friend Doll Girl, and the only way he can do that is to try to become an apprentice to an assassin, Durzo Blint. Now, Durzo Blint is basically the assassin of assassins, but he has to teach Azoth. Azoth kind of has to turn away from everything he knows and everything that he loves and become Kyler. And Kyler ends up training to be this assassin along with Durzo Blint. In this world, there are abilities that you can use to make yourself move faster, to not make as much noise, to hide in shadows better. And then there are even like mages that have abilities and can create fire and things of that nature. And then there's this huge war going on. There's this like huge assassin dark shadow type guild that runs everybody with different people in it. And then there's this one country trying to take over their country, and the world is just horrible, but people are making money, so they don't care. And it's such a good book. I love this. It was fast paced. It was engrossing. It was violent. It was incredibly just a really fun book. All right. And then I read The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. This is another portal fantasy book with doors, so that's why I didn't want to get it confused with the Starless Sea. And I absolutely loved this book as well. The main character is January. She is growing up on this, big manor, and Mr. Locke is the person that takes care of her. Her father goes off to different places, different countries, and visits different people and tries to steal items of great power to bring back to Mr. Locke. And she has a relatively sad childhood because she doesn't have her mother. Her father's gone all the time. But she gets a book, and another magic book story. And in that book, it tells her the story of a young woman named Addie, and Addie finds a door. And that door, she meets this individual. Actually, he came to our world first, and they met, and they basically saw each other for like 5 minutes and fell in love. And then she is trying to find a way back to that person that she loves. So there are doors that go to other worlds, and she's trying to find the specific door to go to that specific world. And so January is reading this account of Addie, and also the young man. His name is Julian, and she is just realizing that this actually might be true. So then January wants to go on her own adventure to find her own doors. And there is this society that's trying to get rid of all the doors because they don't like the influence that these doors create on the world. And it is just a lovely story about people finding the people that they love, trying to come back together. It's written beautifully. There are so many lines in this book that are just fabulously written that I absolutely loved. Alix E. Harrow is a fantastic writer. This is a great debut book, and one of my favorites that was published last year. Highly recommend it if you're looking for a portal fantasy that is about family, relationships, and growing up. If you've read a lot of portal fantasy, this might not be that new to you, but because I haven't read that much of the portal fantasy books, This felt new to me and refreshing and just really well written. Okay, so check that out. That was really good. All right, let's talk about some stories. Karcz Road 158. We have Your Future is Pending by Matthew Kressel. This is a somber and bleak look at your pending future. It was just fantastic. It's not much in the future. It is very depressing. People are basically dying, and the government's really not helping. It's basically saying, if we keep going the direction we're going in our country, in America, this is what might happen. And that was very good. That was Matthew Kressel, Your Future is Pending, from Karcz Road 158. Also from that same issue was Operation Spring Dawn by Xiong. And this is an amazing post-climate disaster story that takes place thousands and thousands of years into the future during a new ice age. So there are these individuals that can unlock these places throughout the world that can maybe revitalize the human population. So they wake up from their slumber and they have to go and try to resuscitate the earth, basically, and with the help of artificial intelligence. Lovely story, fantastic. Karcz Road 159. There's a couple stories on here that I really enjoyed. The Annotated Setlist of the Mikaela Cole Jazz Quintet. This was a great story about how a jazz band came up with the title of their songs. This is in the future. They had to leave Earth. They are basically on this floating ship, trying to survive in deep space. And it was fantastic, and it was sad. A lot of these stories that I like are sad. And then also from this issue is probably one of my favorite stories of last year, Symbiosis Theory. This is by Choyeop Kim from Karcz Road 159. It's just an amazing story. A young girl creates a detailed work of art of another planet, and then after her death, that planet is discovered, and then that discovery leads to more discoveries. And I don't want to give anything away, but Symbiosis Theory, check that out. Karcz Road 159. It was really good. But the last story I want to talk about was the first story of the Mythic Dream. This is a collection by Dominic Parisian and Nava Wolf, and that is Seanan McGuire. She wrote Phantoms of the Midway. A girl has never been outside her carnival. She's always lived in her carnival as it's moved from place to place. She hasn't really visited the towns nearby or anything until this last time she goes out of the carnival, sees this house and tries to walk towards it, leaves the carnival grounds, and meets a young woman that is a ghost near that house. Fantastic story. Seanan McGuire delivered it once again with that. So the Mythic Dream is something that I'm going to be reading one story from for the next few weeks. So expect me to enjoy more stories from this collection because the people in this story collection are amazing. This is a well created collection. It's fantastic. So one story a week, one story a day, and then I'll talk about my favorites each week. I am starting Shadow's Edge by Brent Weeks. All right, so book number 2 of the Night Angel trilogy. I'm excited. I'm also going to be listening to this on audiobook. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And then I'm also reading Karcz Road issue number 154. I think this is the July issue. So I'll be reading that as well. And those are my main reads for this coming week. Also, I did order Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire. I'll probably get that later in the week and maybe read that and talk about that next week. So we shall see. got a lot of reading to do, and hopefully I can do it. Yes. So on a personal note, I am doing well. I bought this really cool container. It has a timer on it. I put my phone inside for like 3 hours, and then I read, and I'm not distracted by my phone. So that's pretty great. I'm doing great at the gym. I'm eating better. Just doing really well. All of the goals that I've set up for myself have been working, and I'm going to keep going with them, and hopefully it'll be good. But hey, some more news is that I have been updating my website. I've been writing for 15 minutes each day and then posting what I write on my website at paulweymouth.com. So check that out. Follow me on Goodreads, Paul_SFF. If you want to get in contact with me, email me at pauldweymouth@live.com, or you can message me on Voxer, Paul_SFF, if you would like to buddy read anything that I mentioned here that I'm reading in the future, or just want to say hi, okay? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you all next week.